A long time ago, in a living room a few miles from here, I watched the movie Goonies for the first time. Or was it Pirates of the Caribbean? Or was it E.T.? Or Stranger Things? There were great stories of adolescence in all those films. Breaking away from adult supervision, seeking adventure and excitement, fortune and glory. I can't speak for everyone, but I got the same feeling watching Star Wars Skeleton Crew. We'll break it down here on 3-Dimensional Dads. I'm Jay.
I'm Derek.
And I'm Ian.
And I don't think I remember no Atten.
Oh,
Can't say I remember no Atten.
I actually think I remember watching Goonies in the movie theater.
Oh.
Oh.
But you're not that
so
much
let me-
older than
let
I
me,
am.
Let me get out that cane.
I actually was bitten by the shark from Jaws.
I think I saw it in the theater. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure I did. Yeah.
That was
Oh
a
my
hell of a
God.
movie, though.
Nice.
I
Hell
know.
of a
Oh,
movie.
definitely.
So we're here to cover Skeleton Crew, which is the newest Star Wars property, right? I was going to go through like a whole like quick spoiler light, thing of the story. But basically, if you've seen Goonies, you've basically seen the through plot. Now, tons of differences because they're in space. There's different characters. I get it. But if you boil it down to its brass tacks, it's kids being taken from home in some way, shape, or form and really discovering the idea of like self-reliance. I think that's what it is. If Steven Spielberg got a hold of this Star Wars show,
Yeah.
that's what it would be, right?
I feel like if this was Spielberg's shot to do a Star Wars thing, he would take this is like E.T. and Goonies and so many of those adolescent stories, adventure things, like Young Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Throw that all in there. Pirates of the Caribbean.
Right.
Yeah.
Amblin. I mean,
Yes.
the word for it when you're a movie nerd is like, this is an Amblin
Yeah.
homage, which
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams was into with like
Yes.
Super 8.
Yes.
And so this very much felt like a love letter to E.T. and Goonies and Amblin and all that.
Absolutely.
And it was.
And so was Stranger Things. And so this is like a reference to Stranger Things. It's a reference to Amblin. It's a reference to... So,
Well, I mean, why wait? Let's get right into it.
Yes.
Let's start with our favorite moments, characters, things we like. Derek, what stuck out to you as things that were really good?
I thought the character of John Norwood was really great. I thought that Jude Law really killed it. Like at first when I heard that Jude Law was going to be one of the stars in this, I had no idea what to expect. And I didn't know, no one really knew what to expect about, the whole series and whatnot, but he played this really great character, this like swashbuckler pirate in like also like the scum nerf herder kind of pirate that you would expect in Star Wars, right? I just thought that he did a really great job being like kind of like the center of this whole crew, basically, if you want to call it that. I did really love I got a lot of E.T. vibes from this series. I mean, the kids going into the woods with their hover bikes, right? They weren't speeder bikes.
they were throwing them around
bikes.
too. Like they're throwing them over like a gate. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was really great. I mean, they found a spaceship in the woods. I mean, come on, that's direct ET stuff. And,
Explorers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stand by Me, right? Stand by. Oh no, wait, that was a dead body. Sorry.
I also love the whole like droid dynamic too in this. Like that the supervisor in the end was a droid, right?
It was Hal. It was Hal.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Well,
So.
and SM-33 is Smee, like the pirate Smee. Come on,
yes,
come on.
yes, and even has an eye missing.
Yeah.
Like it was a patch, right? Like an unsuspecting patch. So those were my kind of like favorite things and my favorite moments. What about you, Ian?
Oh, my favorite was the little owl that they met along the way.
Yeah.
I wanted the show to stop, and I wanted an owl show because, like, I love it when a creature has so much of their like animal characteristics, like the little sounds she'd make, where she's like, she'd make like these little owl sounds, like a porg or something. Adorable. I wanted way more of that, and they like called for help in the end. They call her for help later. But I thought that was such a great character. I want more of that. I need that backstory. Then I thought Neil. It was my favorite kind of Millhouse character that is just trying his
I
best.
didn't think of that. That's funny. That
he's
is
a kind
it was
That's
Millhouse.
hilarious. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Guys,
He's got this little snoot. He's always in the bath. Like he's in the tub every time someone comes over. Neil was so much fun to watch. My girls loved him. I thought Jod's helmet, you're talking about Jod and all that stuff. I love the tri-corner hat with a T visor on it.
Yeah.
Like that. Come on. The Hasbro Black Series. Come on, they have my money already.
Well, it was
I'm
taking
I
like
want that.
it was taking like a pirate hat, but also giving it like this American
Right.
Revolution thing, and then the
Yeah.
Mandalorian thing,
Yeah.
which I'll get to in
I
a
thought it was
second.
cool.
The references.
I dug it.
Yeah.
And I also thought Jude Law's like too handsome for moments where you need to be a bad guy. And bad guys have helmets. And I liked that behind a helmet and behind a mask, you can do all sorts of bad stuff. And I like that in Star Wars. And then my last one, space crabs. I love the little crabs that are like, follow us. And then like the big space crab that's going to eat them. Stop motion. It looked like Phil Tippett or something.
Yeah.
Awesome Star Wars moment where
Yeah.
the creature's huge. The small little ones are bringing you to its master. I thought that was such a Star Wars moment. Right, yeah, your lunch. I love that. Like the Ewoks bringing lunch along, like Han and Leia. That was great.
Yeah, the kids were great. I loved all the kids. Kind of like I loved all the Stranger Things kids. My favorite kid though was KB.
Yeah.
KB gave this huge like mashup of data data from the Goonies, Ki-Hit Kwong. So it's like kind of he just got a renaissance in his career. So that kind of data thing from Goonies, and then Geordie LaForge from Star Trek The Next Generation because of the visor.
Oh yeah, the visor was so cool.
Well, she has that.
Or Cyclops, I got that too.
Yeah,
where it like, comes up and it has awesome design.
And it was a cool thing because like it's that combination of like tech and humanity, like Lando's guy and Bespin and stuff
Lobot.
like that. Lobot.
Oh yeah,
Lobot.
So I thought that was cool. Shout out to Jaleel White. Like kind of a guest star dark horse as Gunter the pirate.
I wanted a moment where he shoots somebody and then it goes like,
Did I do that?
That would have been amazing.
I was waiting for that. It's like in Obi-Wan when we were waiting for Hello There, and it's like the last second before Qui-Gon comes in. No spoilers, but I will say my favorite moment of the show came at the end when there was this cool weave-in for Order 66. Because I really think that if you're going to do these Star Wars series and you're going to be tangential, you still got to have something that connects it to the center. So like everyone can kind of like have a frame of reference. So like the Order 66 reference, which has to do with the Jedi being traitors to the Republic, I thought was a really, really cool part that kind of gives repercussions in the canon. I thought it was great. Not a ton that I disliked, but I know Ian, you were kind of not happy about like the Atten City, the town.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I was gonna piggyback off here. I had some problems with that Order 66 stuff.
Oh, interesting.
Because it's this. I think the term is Mary Jane on the internet.
Yeah.
Where there's someone that knows the Force or learns it way too easily or quickly. And like I didn't, I was kind of expecting when you see Jod and all the different things he can do with the Force. I was expecting a certain kind of story, and the one we got was like, well, I always thought the Jedi had to like train for a whole bunch and like you focus and learn the Force, and that this took discipline to attain. Like Luke training with Yoda on his back. So if I see someone who gets their powers too easily, I didn't love that backstory. I was hoping for something else.
Yeah, like Wim, and he convinces everybody that he's a Jedi, basically. Like when they release him from prison, right? Yeah.
And I was hoping Wim would have something more Jedi. I would love if Wim had a little moment where he used the Force, or knew something he shouldn't know, or like something. Wim was great, and I didn't think he got a good resolution. Then my next is villainizing suburbia. I thought that was kind of an interesting choice. Where like it's the American dream. I personally would love a nice house on a cul. Like they're in $1 million house. They're like, what idiots? Oh, they're oh, that must be so boring. I'm like, I know so many people that would die for a gorgeous $1 million house in a safe neighborhood for their kids. So I thought that was kind of a weird pivot. And then I thought the ending was super abrupt. I was waiting for a stinger. I was waiting for a tease with Wim maybe moving a pencil. When he's doing his test, he moves the pencil across the desk. I wanted like a little stinger, and it like ended. Like the X-Wings go off, and I was like, oh, did it end? And
then you're watching the credits, right? You're watching the credits, and I'm like,
yeah.
Like, are we going to get I seriously thought, and this is kind of where my kind of critique comes in. I seriously thought we were going to get a Billy D. Williams or Donald Glover like kind of cameo, as he would be leading, like Lando would be leading the X-Wings into battle against the pirates at the end. Sorry, that's a little bit of a spoiler, but I mean, it's the climax. What are you going to do?
If you're at this point in the episode, you probably have seen it already.
Yeah. My biggest critique was that it had times when it felt way too rushed and way too slow, but almost right next to each other. So the beginning of the show kind of felt rushed, like introducing everything, like, here are the kids, they have to take tests, blah, 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 blah. And then, like, you want them to slow down and talk about it. And they get to that slow point when they find the ship, and, like, you feel like there's going to be some character development here. And then the ship takes off and then cut to credits. So I was just like, huh? And it kind of was like learning to drive a stick shift. Like I kept on like stopping, starting. So that was my only big critique. Everything about it I was very, very much fine with, except for the pacing a little bit.
Yeah, I don't really know if I had an issue with it not connecting so much to Star Wars, because I feel that in a way that's what I really liked about it. I liked that it was very different. I liked that it was just pirates and scum and villainy and these kids having to navigate it. And you didn't have to worry about the Empire. You weren't worrying about, I mean, you had X-Wing fighters granted in there, but it was their own independent adventure.
Yeah.
And I really liked that. It gave you focus and it gave you concentration. And maybe this guy was a Jedi. And yeah, I guess I did have some problems with that. You could just learn a few things and I could move some rocks around with the Force. I totally get that. I really had more of the problem. I too didn't really like At-Aten. I thought it was almost too much like Earth. It was almost diving too much into that. This is like our world and not the Star Wars world in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It was like you had lines of houses in suburbia and you had trains even that looked
and
like
buses.
Trains and buses, right?
Bicycles. Yeah,
it seemed too Earth-like and not enough Star Wars context to it. I did like some of the things I did like were the kids paying the homage, like we would play with action figures and things like that.
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious when Wim tries to take the lightsaber, it's pointing upside down, and he tries to
that was great.
That was like one of the best parts of the whole thing. Like, oh, you're gonna have this moment. Like that was the thing. Like you wanted to have this Jedi moment, right? But then again, it was cool because it was like it falsely did it, right? And it took like that humor and it made it, different. That like, oh, it's not connecting to the whole big Star Wars thing because it's goofy. But I that was my problem. My one problem with it. It felt too Earth-like instead of Star Wars-like. I feel like. So
I feel that. And my issue with At-Aten is, what is it? They set up this mystery of, here's a planet with so much gold and resources. They're printing old Republic credits.
Yeah.
They like led these breadcrumbs. And then I guess it's something for later if they do a sequel. But like the Acolyte to me got such a sad like early death, where they set up, oh my God, it's going to be this awesome scene with Yoda. They didn't do it. And they teased it for later. And they teased all these things that we were waiting for. Maybe don't do that. Maybe give us some more stuff where I wonder, if the rebels get this planet, it's so much gold. If the Imperials get the credit, it's so much gold. I can see it coming into, later with maybe the First Order. This is what funds all the giant ships and the stuff they have. But yeah, I think there's something there that I wanted more from that. Like, who set this up? What is this? Is this, an Imperial thing?
Well, that's the idea. Like, it's in our kind of last segment here is about like, how does this relate to the greater Star Wars universe? And that could be either behind the scenes production wise, or like the canon of Star Wars. And the show did have a formula, but I think the formula did fit well into the canon of the universe. The whole idea of adventure, leaving home. I mean, Luke leaves home. Rey has to leave Jakku. Anakin Skywalker, leaves home. Like, I think that idea of like young people leaving and finding themselves, I think very well fit into the canon. I think this was also proof that, again, I thought the connections to the greater Star Wars universe were fine, but this is more proof that you do not need a Skywalker centered show, which I think is really good for Star Wars, that you don't need a Skywalker centered show, because Skywalker shows are for us old guys who like loves Star Wars and been around it forever. The kids don't care necessarily about Luke Skywalker, but they care about these kids. And I think that's great for bringing in a new generation. Yeah, it's a kid's show, but it was a fun kid's show, and I really liked it.
Yeah, going back to that point, like what I just made before, was that it was great that this wasn't sort of a real Star Wars show, meaning like it wasn't the hardcore, you're gonna the anti-Marvel thing that I talk about. Like with Marvel, I want to know how it fits into the whole universe. With this, I want it to be, I don't want to know how it fits into like how Luke is training or like the Grogu story and stuff. And I just really did like that. The fact that it was very centric to adolescent and youth. And I think it reminds us of like what made Star Wars great for us.
Yeah.
Just wanting to be a Jedi and playing with the action figures and think these are my heroes, right? And just wanting to have that lust for an adventure, right? And that was the magic of this show to me, I feel like.
Ooh. I think fitting into the bigger picture of everything, I don't understand. Like, I think the long form storytelling is always hard. I am looking for how this fits into the bigger. When does it happen on the timeline? I mean, I feel like as Star Wars fans, there's this baggage that comes along with it. And I think there's a problem here that I have with Marvel, which is they keep introducing new characters and new things. They could be digging into Star Wars characters that we know and love, or that maybe we want more from. And, I feel like some of those like low hanging fruit are right there. And they don't, like Disney doesn't do. Like, where's our Shadow of the Empire with Dash Rendar? There was like a Dash something reference for Jod. Where's Prince Shizor? Why aren't we seeing stories about young Luke or young Leia, or expanding on these other characters that we know? Now here's a whole other story.
Cal Kestis.
Cal Kestis is right. It's like those to me are just such easy things to do. Or with a Force Unleashed, like that character. That's one of those. Yeah.
Bring back hated. I mean, you have the actors are fine. Sam Witwer can play the new Jedi. You have Darth Vader. You could put Hayden in the suit again, and you have a show.
Right?
But yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I think that their whole idea, the House of Mouse, is like, okay, let's branch out.
Well, it's always for the intro. It's always getting new people into Star Wars, Where's one for us? I want like Salicious Crumb. I want like, Kowakian Monkey Lizard show. Let's get real specific nerd stuff.
Well, I mean, I think the last show like that would have been Kenobi.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that was
Andor maybe. I mean, we do get some stuff that,
Yeah, Kenobi was near perfect for me. It was near perfect. I thought maybe it felt a little like too easy. Like I kind of like the story kind of followed like a really specific kind of formula with it. But, it is what it is. But this show, again, if I want to just wrap it up, kind of like bookend it, this was a great story about kids. It was a great story about Star Wars. And they put those ideas together. And I think we got something that maybe we don't have to build on. But it's definitely something that gives a good feeling in a time when, Star Wars has been a little rough. So with that, I think that's a good place to leave it.
Thanks for dropping out of hyperspace and hanging out with us, breaking down Skeleton Crew. While it's been hit or miss for Star Wars universe for a while, we were pleasantly surprised with the heart and fun of this show. Let's hope the Disney Empire can keep it going.
Keep up with 3-Dimensional Dads on social media at 3-Dimensional Dads on Instagram and TikTok, for now anyway. We're also on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
On the next episode of 3-Dimensional Dads, we're talking toys and parenting. As kids, we played with them, and as parents, we must purchase them and inevitably step on them in the middle of the night in the dark. Ouch. It's that festive time of year where the three of us quested for finding bigger, louder, more expensive toys than last year. All this and more on the next episode of 3-Dimensional Dads.